Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. In the name of the most beneficent, the most merciful. Dear viewers, Assalamu alaikum. Let the mercy and blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala be showered on all of you. Viewers, today I appear in front of you deeply ashamed. All seems to be quiet in Gaza, but I call it an apprehensive lull. It is a stage-managed respite secured for Israel, as the situation was getting unexpectedly untenable for them, both due to the indomitable courage and spectacular prowess of the Palestinians and the overwhelming clamor of world opinion brought to bear upon them, upon the Israelis. It will soon, however, fade away, allowing the Zionist regime time and opportunity to swoop down again on the Palestinians with another pretext of their own making. The objective: never to allow the Palestinians to reconstruct, rehabilitate, and stand on their own feet to regain the lost lands. I am ashamed too, like the Israeli journalist crying out to the conscience of the world. I am ashamed of being called a citizen of a world which watches in silence when Palestine burns in perpetuity. I am ashamed of belonging to the Muslim Ummah, which brags about its solidarity with all Muslims across the globe, and yet sides with the savage Israeli occupation army. I am ashamed of seeing hundreds of innocent Palestinian children being strangulated to death by the bloodthirsty Israeli soldiers, and yet no pain felt by the world citizenry. I am ashamed of seeing hundreds of defenseless men, women being tortured and murdered by the Israeli occupation force, when the Western civilized, the so-called civilized world, continues to arm and bolster their killing machines. I am ashamed of the United Nations and other humanitarian organizations paying lip service when the Palestinians pass days, weeks, and months under the open sky without food, drinking water, shelter, and medical care, screaming with excruciating pain suffered from bomb shells and bullet injuries. I am ashamed of the rich, educated, and self-acclaimed civilized world advocating peace, harmony, and human rights, and yet reiterating the support for the Israeli government with folded hands, disregarding the perpetual savagery of the Israelis on the defenseless Palestinians. Dear viewer, I am ashamed of the culpable silence maintained by the rulers in the Middle East, in particular Saudi Arabia, claiming themselves to be the followers of the Quran and the Sunnah of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam in their struggle to regain the lost lands. I am ashamed of the role played by the world media, who are quick to publicize the rights and claims of Israel, while turning a deaf ear to the wailings of the Palestinians set on a carnage by the brutal occupation force. I am ashamed of the perennial failure of the United Nations in implementing the decision of its majority members, supporting the just and inalienable rights of the Palestinians, due to the unethical, inhuman, loathsome, and abhorrent veto right of the permanent members of the Security Council. I am ashamed of the failure of the consensus Israeli citizens, left if any, in voicing their dissent against the genocide being carried out by their rulers on the original settlers, akin to that carried out by the Nazis against their own ancestors. Dear viewers, anguished and agonized, I scoff at myself and censure myself for my inability to come to the rescue of the Palestinians, evicted from their own land and persecuted by the Israelis for more than a quarter of a century. Mankind has been granted respite by the Creator for too long, for too many sins committed by us. It is therefore time for redemption and encompass. I personally feel COVID is our testing ground. The dimension and the nature of our future tests shall depend on our benign steps and the bona fide willingness to remedy the monumental damages induced by us both our fellow human beings and the bountiful nature that threaten our existence on this planet. I hope and pray senses shall prevail on the sensibles before it comes too late to recalibrate. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, my dear brothers and sisters. Assalamu alaikum.